The millionaire left his wallet on the table to test the waitress's honesty, but what happened next left him completely surprised. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and toasted bread filled the small kitchen of Emily Thompson's apartment. At just 25 years old, Emily already carried the weight of a life full of responsibilities on her shoulders. As she adjusted the black apron over her white shirt, she glanced at the wall clock, 5:30 a.m. She sighed, grabbed her purse and hurried out, closing the door behind her. The sun was barely peeking between the buildings when Emily arrived at the Golden Dream, a luxurious restaurant in the heart of the city. Despite its refined appearance and wealthy clientele, Emily felt like an intruder every time she crossed its glass doors. "Good morning, Emily," greeted Mark, the head chef, as she hurried to the employee lounge. "Good morning, Mark," she replied with a tired smile. "How's today's menu looking?" "Oh, brace yourself, we're fully booked and the owner wants us to try some new dishes," said Mark, waving a wooden spoon in the air. "It's going to be an intense day." Emily nodded, storing her belongings in her locker. She looked in the mirror, tucking a rebellious strand of her brown hair behind her ear. Her green eyes, inherited from a mother she barely remembered, reflected a mixture of determination and exhaustion. The day unfolded like a whirlwind of orders, dishes, and demanding customers. Emily moved gracefully between tables, balancing trays and smiling politely, despite the pain in her feet. Each tip was another step closer to her dream. Saving, enough to return to college and finish her business administration degree. It was around 2 p.m. when she saw him enter tall, elegantly poised, and dressed in a suit that probably cost more than Emily's annual salary. William Grant, the business tycoon, whose face regularly appeared in magazines and newscasts. "Table for one, please," he said in a deep, authoritative voice to the hostess, who quickly led him to a table in the VIP area. Emily felt her heart race when the manager, Sarah, approached her. "Emily, I want you to personally attend to Mr. Grant," Sarah said in a low voice. "He's one of our most important clients. Any mistake could cost us dearly, understood?" Emily nodded, swallowing hard. "Understood, Sarah, I'll do my best." With determined steps, Emily approached William Grant's table. The man briefly looked at her, his blue eyes scrutinizing her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Welcome to the Golden Dream. I'm Emily, and I'll be your server today. May I offer you our wine list?" William nodded without a word, taking the list Emily offered him. As the millionaire examined the options, Emily couldn't help but notice the details: the gold watch on his wrist, the diamond ring on his finger, the designer pen peeking out of his jacket pocket. "I'll have a Chateau Margaux 95, William finally said, returning the list. Emily blinked, surprised. That bottle cost more than she earned in a month. "Excellent choice, sir. Would you like to see the menu now, or prefer to wait?" "I'll wait," he replied dryly. Emily withdrew, feeling William's gaze on her back. As she headed to the wine cellar, she couldn't help but wonder what it would feel like to live like that, without financial worries, ordering wines that cost a fortune as if it were nothing. William Grant's lunch lasted almost 2 hours. Emily attended to him diligently, making sure his glass was never empty and anticipating his needs. Despite his distant attitude, the millionaire seemed satisfied with the service. When he finally asked for the check, Emily brought it with trembling hands. William took out a black credit card from his wallet and placed it on the tray without even looking at the total. "Thank you for your excellent service, Emily," he said, surprising her by using her name. It was the first time he had directly addressed her throughout the meal. "It's been a pleasure serving you, Mr. Grant," she responded with a professional smile. William stood up, adjusting his jacket. With an almost imperceptible gesture, he slid his wallet onto the table, leaving it there as if he had forgotten it. Then, without further words, he headed towards the exit. Emily looked at the wallet, confused. Should she call out to him? Run after him? She decided on the most sensible action. She took it and quickly headed to Sarah's office. "Sarah, Mr. Grant forgot his wallet on the table," she said, handing over the fine leather object. The manager's eyes widened. "Oh my God! Well done, Emily. I'll take care of contacting him and returning it. Meanwhile, store it in the safe. Emily nodded, feeling relieved for having done the right thing. However, she couldn't help but think about how easy it would have been to keep it, how that money could have changed her life. She shook her head, pushing away those thoughts. Her integrity was worth more than any amount of money. The rest of the day passed without incident, but Emily couldn't get the encounter with William Grant out of her head. There was something about his gaze, his behavior, that intrigued her. That night, as she was closing the restaurant with her colleagues, Emily was surprised to see Sarah approach with an enigmatic smile. "Emily, I have news," said the manager. "Mr. Grant called personally to thank you for returning his wallet, and that's not all. He specifically requested that you be here tomorrow at lunchtime. He said he wants to talk to you." Emily's heart skipped a beat. "To me? But why?" Sarah shrugged. "I don't know, but when William Grant asks for something, we obey. Make sure you're here on time tomorrow." Emily nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. What could one of the most powerful men in the city want from her? That night in her small apartment, Emily couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing, imagining 1,000 different scenarios for the next day's encounter. What if he offered her a better job, or maybe a scholarship to finish her studies? She laughed at herself for daydreaming. "Don't be silly, Emily," she told herself. "He probably just wants to thank you in person." The next morning, Emily woke up before her alarm went off. She dressed with special care, choosing her best white shirt and making sure every strand of her hair was in place. As she looked in the mirror, she reminded herself that no matter what happened, she should remain professional and not let herself be intimidated. The restaurant was in full lunch swing when William Grant made his entrance. This time, Emily noticed, he was accompanied by a serious-looking man carrying a briefcase. Sarah practically ran to receive them and guided them to the same table as the day before. With her heart beating rapidly, Emily approached the table. "Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Welcome back to the Golden Dream." William looked at her, this time with a slight smile on his lips. "Emily, just the person I wanted to see. Please sit with us for a moment." Surprised, Emily looked at Sarah, who nodded, giving her permission cautiously. She sat in the chair William indicated. "Emily, let me introduce you to my lawyer, Mr. Andrew Vega," said William, gesturing to the man with the briefcase. "We're here for a very specific matter that concerns you." Emily felt her mouth go dry. A lawyer? Had she done something wrong? William, noticing her nervousness, smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, it's nothing bad. In fact, I'm here to make you a proposal." The millionaire paused, as if carefully choosing his next words. "Yesterday, when I left my wallet on the table, it wasn't an accident, it was a test." Emily blinked, confused. "A test?" William nodded. "You see, Emily, in my position, it's difficult to find people I can truly trust, people with integrity. When I saw how you handled the situation, I knew you were someone special." The lawyer opened his briefcase and took out some documents, placing them in front of Emily. "I want to offer you a job at one of my companies," William continued, "an executive assistant position at Grant Enterprises. The salary is considerably better than what you earn here, and it includes full benefits and the opportunity to grow within the company." Emily felt like she couldn't breathe. Was she dreaming? She looked at the documents in front of her, seeing figures she had never imagined earning. "But why me?" she finally managed to ask. William leaned forward, his blue eyes fixed on hers. "Because in a world where most people would have taken that wallet without thinking twice, you chose to do the right thing. That, Emily, is more valuable to me than any university degree or work experience." Emily felt her eyes filling with tears. It was the opportunity she had always dreamed of, fallen from the sky, like a miracle. "You don't have to decide now," said William, noticing her emotion. "Take a few days to think about it. Mr. Vega will leave you his card, so you can contact him when you've made a decision." Emily nodded, unable to form coherent words. William and his lawyer stood up, concluding the meeting. "I look forward to your call, Emily," said William before leaving. "I believe you could be a valuable addition to my team." When they left, Emily remained seated, looking at the documents in front of her. Sarah approached, curious. "What was all that about?" asked the manager. Emily looked at her, an incredulous smile on her face. I think I just received the opportunity of a lifetime." The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for Emily. On one hand, the excitement of a new opportunity, of a bright future opening up before her; on the other, the fear of the unknown, of leaving behind the security of the familiar. She consulted with her best friend Lucy, who encouraged her to take the risk. "It's the opportunity of your life, Emily. You can't let it pass you by." Finally, after sleepless nights and long conversations with herself, Emily made a decision with trembling hands. She dialed the number on the card that William's lawyer had left her. "Mr. Vega," she said, when the lawyer answered. "This is Emily Thompson. I've made a decision. I accept Mr. Grant's offer." And so, in a matter of days, Emily's life took a 180-degree turn. She said goodbye to her colleagues at the Golden Dream, promising to stay in touch. Sarah, although sad to lose one of her best waitresses, hugged her tightly. "Go and conquer the corporate world, Emily," she said. "You'll always have a place here if things don't work out." The first day at Grant Enterprises was overwhelming. The glass and steel building towered imposingly in the city's financial center. Emily, dressed in her best suit, hastily bought for the occasion, felt small and insignificant as she crossed the luxurious lobby. At the reception, an elegant woman greeted her with a professional smile. "Miss Thompson, welcome to Grant Enterprises. Mr. Grant is waiting for you in his office. Please follow me." As they rode the elevator to the top floor, Emily tried to calm her nerves. The doors opened to reveal a hallway decorated with modern artwork and exotic plants. At the end of the hallway, two large, dark wood doors marked the entrance to William Grant's office. The receptionist knocked softly, and after hearing a "come in" from inside, opened the doors. "Mr. Grant, Miss Thompson is here." William Grant was standing by a huge window that offered a panoramic view of the city. He turned to greet her with a smile. "Emily, welcome," he said, extending his hand. "I'm glad you accepted my offer." Emily shook his hand, noting the firmness of his grip. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Grant. I'm eager to start and learn everything I can." William nodded, pleased with her enthusiasm. "I'm glad to hear that," said William, guiding her to an area of the office with leather sofas. "Please, sit down. We have a lot to discuss about your new role here." Emily sat down, trying to maintain a professional posture. Despite the nerves she felt, William took a seat across from her, crossing his legs with natural elegance. "As my executive assistant," he began, "you'll have access to confidential information and will be an integral part of many important decisions. I need to know that I can trust you completely, Emily." "Of course, Mr. Grant," she responded firmly. "Discretion and loyalty are fundamental to me." William smiled, apparently satisfied with her answer. "Good. Now I know this is a big change for you. You'll go from waiting tables to handling multi-million-dollar contracts and coordinating with high-level executives. Do you think you're prepared for this challenge?" Emily felt a knot in her stomach, but forced herself to maintain her composure. "I know I have a lot to learn, Mr. Grant, but I'm willing to work hard and adapt quickly. I won't let you down." "That's the attitude I was hoping for," William nodded. "You'll start with an intensive training period. You'll work directly with me and some of our senior executives to get up to speed with our operations." The next few hours passed in a frenzy of information. William gave her a tour of the offices, introducing her to people whose names Emily could barely remember. Each new face came, with a polite smile and a curious look, no doubt wondering how this unknown young woman had come to a position so close to the powerful William Grant. At the end of the day, Emily found herself back in William's office, her head spinning with all the information she had received. "How do you feel?" William asked, observing her carefully. Emily took a deep breath before answering. "Honestly, Mr. Grant, I feel overwhelmed, but also excited and grateful for this opportunity. I promise to give my best." William nodded, a slight smile on his lips. "That's all I ask, Emily. I know you have potential. Now it's up to you to prove it." When Emily finally left the Grant Enterprises building that night, she felt as if she had lived an entire lifetime in a single day. The contrast between her old life and this new reality was dizzying. In the weeks that followed, Emily immersed herself completely in her new role. She spent long hours in the office, absorbing information, learning the ins and outs of the corporate world, and familiarizing herself with Grant Enterprises operations. William turned out to be a demanding but fair boss, always pushing her to give more of herself. However, as she delved deeper into the world of high-level business, Emily began to notice things that disturbed her, half-voiced conversations that stopped abruptly when she entered a room, documents that quickly disappeared from desks, secret meetings late at night one afternoon while organizing some files in William's office. Emily couldn't help but glance at a document that had been left open on his computer. What she saw left her cold. Figures that didn't add up, transfers to accounts in tax havens, names of companies she had never heard of before. "Emily?" William's voice startled her. He was standing at the office door, his expression unreadable. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Emily felt her heart beating hard. Had he seen her looking at the screen? "Yes, Mr. Grant," she managed to say, lifting a folder. "I was just filing these documents." William looked at her fixedly for a moment before nodding. "Good. When you're done, I need you to stay late. We have an important video conference with our partners abroad." "Of course," Emily replied, trying to keep her voice from betraying her nervousness. That night, as she listened to William speak in codes and euphemisms with men with foreign accents, Emily felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. What kind of business was Grant Enterprises really involved in, and what should she do with this information? The following days were torture for Emily. Every time William asked her to perform a task, she wondered if she would be inadvertently contributing to something illegal. Guilt and fear began to consume her, robbing her of sleep and appetite. Finally, unable to bear the pressure any longer, Emily decided she had to confront William. She waited until late one night, when most of the employees had already left. With her heart pounding, she knocked on William's office door. "Come in," his voice responded. From inside, Emily entered, closing the door behind her. William was sitting behind his desk, the lamplight casting dramatic shadows on his face. "Emily," he said, looking up from his papers, "what can I do for you at this hour?" Emily took a deep breath, gathering all her courage. "Mr. Grant, I need to talk to you about something important." William looked at her curiously, indicating that she should sit down. "I'm listening. I've noticed some things in the last few days," Emily began, her voice trembling slightly. "Transactions that don't seem normal, secret meetings, documents that disappear." She saw William's expression harden as she spoke, but she continued. "Mr. Grant, is the company involved in illegal activities?" The silence that followed her question was deafening. William slowly rose from his chair, circling the desk until he was in front of Emily. She forced herself to keep her gaze fixed on him, although every instinct screamed at her to flee. "Emily," William finally said, his voice surprisingly soft, "you're more perceptive than I thought, and braver too. Not many would dare to confront me directly." He leaned on the edge of the desk, crossing his arms. "Yes, Grant Enterprises is involved in some activities that could be considered on the edge of legality. But let me ask you something. Do you think an empire like this is built always playing by the rules?" Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "But Mr. Grant, that's illegal, immoral." William interrupted. "The business world isn't black and white, Emily. Sometimes, to achieve great things, to create jobs, to boost the economy, you have to operate in the gray areas." He leaned towards her, his piercing blue eyes intense. "I chose you for your integrity, it's true, but also because I saw in you the potential to understand how the world really works. The question is, are you ready to be part of something bigger than yourself?" Emily felt the world spinning around her. Everything she believed in, everything she thought about William Grant and this opportunity, was being questioned. I don't know what to say," she managed to articulate. William straightened up, his expression softening. "You don't have to decide now. Take a few days to think about it. But remember, Emily, this is a unique opportunity. Not everyone gets the chance to see how the strings of power really move." Emily stood up shakily, desperately needing fresh air. "Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Grant. I need time to process all of this." William nodded. "Of course, and Emily, I trust in your discretion about this conversation." She nodded mechanically before hurrying out of the office. Once in the elevator, she leaned against the wall, feeling short of breath. What was she going to do now? The following days were a whirlwind of doubts and internal conflicts for Emily. On one hand, she was horrified by what she had discovered. The idea of being involved in illegal activities went against everything she believed in, but on the other hand, William's voice resonated in her mind. Was this really how the business world worked? Was she being naive to think that one could succeed always playing clean? As she struggled with these questions, Emily noticed subtle changes in her work environment. Some executives looked at her with suspicion, as if they knew about her conversation with William. Others seemed to treat her with a new respect, as if she had passed some kind of secret test. One afternoon, while working at her desk, Emily received an encrypted message on her computer. When she deciphered it, she realized it was an invitation to a secret meeting that night, at a discreet location, outside the city. The invitation was simply signed with the initials WG. Emily's heart was pounding as she drove to the indicated address part of. Her feared what she might find, but another part was intrigued, eager to understand more about this hidden world she had entered. She arrived at an elegant but discreet mansion, hidden behind high walls and dense trees. A security guard verified her identity before allowing her to enter. Inside, Emily found herself in the midst of an exclusive party. She recognized several faces from the business and political world, all mingling and conversing in low voices. "Emily?" William's voice surprised her. He was standing next to her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. He offered her one. "I'm glad you came." She took the glass, observing the bubbly golden liquid. "Mr. Grant, what is all this?" William smiled, an enigmatic gleam in his eyes. "This, Emily, is where business really gets done, where alliances are forged, deals are closed, and the future is shaped." He guided her through the room, introducing her to people whose decisions affected the lives of millions, politicians, CEOs, even some celebrities. Everyone seemed to know. Everyone showed him a respect that bordered on reverence. As the night progressed, Emily found herself absorbing conversations about corporate mergers, changes in government policies, and movements in the global market. It was a fascinating and terrifying world at the same time. At one point, William took her to a private study, away from the bustle of the party. He closed the door behind them and turned to look at her. "What do you think of all this, Emily?" he asked, his voice serious. Emily took a deep breath before responding. "It's overwhelming. I never imagined a world like this existed behind the curtains." William nodded. "Few do, Emily. I brought you here tonight because I want you to understand something. Real power isn't in newspaper headlines or public statements. It's here, in these private meetings, in these discreet agreements." He moved closer to her, his gaze intense. "You have incredible potential. You could be part of this, help shape the world, but I need to know if you're ready to leave behind your old notions of right and wrong." Emily felt like she was on the edge of a precipice. Every fiber of her being screamed that this was wrong, that she should turn around and never look back. But another part of her, a part she didn't know existed, was excited by the possibility, hungry for power and knowledge. She began, her voice trembling slightly. "I need time, Mr. Grant. This is a lot to process." William smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Of course, take all the time you need. But remember, Emily, opportunities like this don't come twice in a lifetime." When Emily finally returned to her small apartment that night, she felt as if she had lived an entire lifetime in just a few hours. She looked at herself in the mirror, wondering if the person looking back at her was really her. What path would she choose? Would she stay true to her principles, or let herself be seduced by the power and wealth William offered her? As she prepared for bed, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that no matter what decision she made, her life would never be the same again. And so, with the weight of this decision on her shoulders, Emily closed her eyes, knowing that tomorrow would bring challenges she had never before imagined. The days following the party were a whirlwind of emotions and doubts for Emily. Each morning, as she entered the offices of Grant Enterprises, she felt as if she were playing a role in an elaborate play. Her interactions with William had become tense, charged with unspoken meaning. He didn't pressure her directly, but Emily could feel his evaluating gaze, waiting for her decision. One afternoon, while organizing some documents in the archive, Emily came across a folder that caught her attention. It was marked as Project Phoenix and had an ultra-secret stamp. Curiosity got the better of her prudence, and making sure no one was watching her, she opened the folder. What she found inside left her breathless. Documents detailing a complex network of shell companies, millionaire transfers to accounts in tax havens, and most alarmingly, evidence of bribes to high-level officials in several countries. Emily felt the ground moving beneath her feet. This went beyond operating in grey areas, as William had suggested. This was large-scale corruption. So absorbed was she in her discovery that she didn't hear the approaching footsteps. "Emily!" William's voice startled her, making her almost drop the folder. "What are you doing?" Emily turned, her heart beating fast. William was standing at the door of the archive, his expression a mixture of surprise and something else, disappointment. "Mr. Grant, I was organizing some files and—" Emily stammered, knowing it was useless to lie. William slowly approached, his eyes fixed on the folder Emily was holding. "I see you've found Project Phoenix," he said, his voice strangely calm. "I suppose this changes things, doesn't it?" Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "Mr. Grant, this is illegal. I can't be part of something like this." William sighed, running a hand through his perfectly combed hair. For a moment, Emily saw a glimpse of vulnerability in his eyes, something she had never noticed before in the powerful businessman. "Emily, sit down," he said, pointing to a nearby chair. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation." Emily obeyed, still clinging to the folder as if it were a shield. William leaned against a filing cabinet, his posture less imposing than usual. "What you've discovered," he began, "is just the tip of the iceberg. Grant Enterprises isn't just a company, Emily. It's part of a much larger system, a system that pulls the strings of the global economy." Emily looked at him, incredulous. "But why? Why risk everything with illegal activities?" William gave a bitter smile. "Do you think great fortunes are built by playing fair? The world doesn't work that way, Emily. Sometimes, to achieve a greater good, you have to get your hands dirty." "A greater good?" Emily couldn't hide the tone of disbelief in her voice. "How can corruption be a greater good?" William moved closer, sitting in the chair in front of her. His voice softened. "Think about it, Emily. With the power and resources we have, we can influence policies that affect millions. We can create jobs, drive development in forgotten regions. Yes, sometimes we use questionable methods, but the end justifies the means." Emily felt her head spinning. Everything she believed in was being questioned. "But what about the law, ethics?" William looked at her intently. "Law and ethics are concepts created by those in power to maintain their position. We are above that. We have the opportunity to rewrite the rules, to shape the world to our vision." He leaned forward, his eyes shining with an intensity that Emily found both fascinating and terrifying. "Emily, I chose you because I saw extraordinary potential in you. You have the intelligence and intuition to be part of this, to be more than just an employee. You could be an architect of the future." Emily found herself speechless. Part of her wanted to run away, to denounce everything she had discovered, but another part, a part she didn't know existed, was attracted to the idea of power, of being part of something bigger than herself. She finally managed to say, her voice trembling slightly, "I need time, Mr. Grant. This is too much to process at once." William nodded, standing up. "I understand. Take all the time you need. But remember, Emily, once you know the truth, there's no going back. The decision you make now will define the rest of your life." With those words, he left the archive, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts and the weight of the folder in her hands. The following days were agony for Emily. Every moment in the office felt like an act, pretending normalcy, while her mind was buzzing with everything she had discovered. At night, she tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep, debating between what she believed was right and the temptation of the power William offered her. One afternoon, as she was walking through the park near her apartment, trying to clear her thoughts, Emily ran into a familiar figure. It was Mark, the chef from the restaurant where she used to work. "Emily," Mark exclaimed with a smile, "what a surprise to see you. How's your new job going?" Emily forced a smile, feeling a pang of nostalgia for the simpler days at the restaurant. "Hi, Mark. It's interesting. Very different from what I was used to." Mark looked at her carefully, noticing the dark circles under her eyes and her tense expression. "Are you okay? You seem worried." Something in Mark's genuine concern made Emily break down. Before she knew it, she was telling him everything. The job at Grant Enterprises, the discoveries she had made, William's offer. Of course, she omitted the specific details, but it felt good to be able to share her dilemma with someone. Mark listened in silence, his expression becoming more serious as Emily spoke. When she finished, he looked at her with a mixture of concern and understanding. "Emily," he said softly, "I remember the honest young woman who worked so hard in the restaurant, the one who returned a wallet full of money without thinking twice. Is that Emily still there?" His words hit Emily like a punch to the stomach. Had she really changed so much in such a short time? "I don't know what to do, Mark," she admitted, feeling more vulnerable than she had allowed herself to in weeks. "Part of me wants to denounce everything, but another part is tempted by the power," Mark completed. Emily nodded. Ashamed, Mark put a hand on her shoulder. "Emily, only you can make this decision, but remember, power means nothing if you lose your integrity in the process. Sometimes doing the right thing is difficult, but at the end of the day, it's the only thing that really matters." Those words resonated with Emily for days. Meanwhile, at the office, she noticed that William was watching her with increasing impatience. She knew she couldn't postpone her decision much longer. One night, while working late at the office, Emily decided she needed more information before making a final decision. Taking advantage of the fact that almost everyone had left, she ventured into William's office, determined to find more evidence of the extent of Grant Enterprises' illegal activities. As she rummaged through the files on William's desk, her hands trembling slightly, Emily found something that left her cold. An old photograph, yellowed by time. In it, she saw a young William Grant next to a woman who seemed strangely familiar. To her, with a shock of recognition, Emily realized that the woman in the photo was identical to her mother. Confused and with her heart racing, Emily turned the photograph over. On the back, in elegant handwriting, was written, "William and Maria, summer of '99. Our secret." Emily's world wobbled. Did her mother know William Grant? And what did our secret mean? The implications of what she was seeing were too much to process. So absorbed was she in her discovery that she didn't hear the door open behind her. "Emily?" William's voice startled her, making her turn abruptly. He was standing at the door, his expression a mixture of surprise and guilt. "I see you've found something interesting." Emily raised the photograph, her hand trembling. "Mr. Grant, what does this mean? Did you know my mother?" William closed the door behind him, his posture tense. He walked slowly towards Emily, his eyes fixed on the photograph. "I suppose it's time you knew the truth, Emily," he finally said, his voice laden with an emotion Emily had never heard in him before. "Maria, your mother, she and I had a history many years ago." Emily felt like she couldn't breathe. "What are you saying?" William took the photograph from her hands, looking at it with a mixture of nostalgia and pain. "Emily, there's a reason why I chose you. Why I've been testing you all this time." He paused, as if the next words were difficult to pronounce. I am your biological father." Emily's world stopped. William's words resonated in her ears, but her mind refused to process them. Her entire life, Everything she believed she knew about herself was crumbling before her eyes. "No, it can't be," she managed to articulate, backing up until she hit the desk. "My father died before I was born. My mother told me so." William shook his head, an expression of pain crossing his face. "Your mother and we had a brief but intense relationship. When she discovered she was pregnant, I wasn't ready to be a father. I was building my empire. Obsessed with power and success, I gave her money to disappear, to raise the baby away from me." Emily felt tears beginning to fall down her cheeks, a mixture of anger and confusion taking over her. Why? Why now? Why did you bring me here? William approached, trying to touch her shoulder, but Emily jerked away abruptly. He let his hand fall, defeated. "Over the years, I regretted my decision," he continued. "I tried to find you, but your mother had changed her name, her city. When I finally found you working in that restaurant, I knew it was my chance to make amends for my mistakes." Emily looked at him, incredulous. "Make amends? For your mistakes? By bringing me into a corrupt company? By trying to turn me into this?" William seemed to shrink at her words. For the first time, Emily saw vulnerability in the powerful businessman. "I wanted to give you everything I couldn't before," he said softly. "The power, the influence, a place in this world. I wanted you to be part of my legacy." Emily felt like her head was going to explode. Her whole life had been a lie. Her mother, whom she adored and who had passed away years ago, had hidden the truth about her origin from her. And now the man she believed was just her boss turned out to be her biological father. I need to get out of here," Emily said, heading towards the door. "Emily, please." William's voice sounded desperate. "We can talk about this. We can fix things." She stopped at the door, turning to look at him one last time. "There's nothing to fix, Mr. Grant. You made your decision years ago, and I'm making mine now." With those words, Emily left the office, leaving William alone with the weight of his secrets and regrets. That night, as she walked aimlessly through the city streets, Emily felt her entire world had been turned upside down. Her whole life, her identity, her values, everything was being questioned. Who was she really? The daughter of a waitress who fought against adversity, or the heiress to an empire built on lies and corruption? As the moon rose over the skyscrapers, Emily knew she was at a crossroads. The decisions she would make in the coming days would not only define her future, but would also determine what kind of person she would choose to be. With the weight of these revelations on her shoulders, Emily headed to her apartment, knowing that dawn would bring challenges she had never before imagined facing. The days following the revelation were a whirlwind of emotions for Emily. She had taken a few days off work, unable to face William or the world he represented. She spent hours locked in her small apartment, reviewing old photographs of her mother, looking for some clue, some hint she might have overlooked all these years. One afternoon, while examining an old box of mementos, Emily found a yellowed envelope she had never seen before. With trembling hands, she opened it, revealing a letter written in her mother's elegant handwriting. "My dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you, and you've discovered the truth about your origin. Forgive me for not telling you this in person, but there are truths that are too painful to share. Your biological father is William Grant. We had a brief but intense relationship when we were young. When I told him I was pregnant, he chose his career and ambition over us. He gave me money to disappear, to raise you away from him and his world. At first, I was hurt and angry, but over time, I realized that maybe it was for the best. I raised you with values, with love, away from the corruption and greed that dominate that world. Don't judge William too harshly. We all make mistakes, especially when we're young. But remember, Emily, what really matters is not where we come from, but who we choose to be. I love you more than anything in this world. I trust that you will make the right decisions, no matter how difficult they may be, with all my love. Mum." Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she read and reread the letter. Her mother, even after her death, found a way to guide her, to give her strength. That night, Emily made a decision she couldn't keep running from the truth or from the decisions she had to make. It was time to confront William and decide her future. The next morning, Emily showed up at the offices of Grant Enterprises. Employees looked at her curiously as she headed straight for William's office. Without bothering to knock, she opened the door. William was standing by the window as if he had been expecting her arrival. He turned to look at her, his face a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Emily," he said softly, "I'm glad you came back." "I haven't come back," she replied firmly. "I'm here to have a final conversation and make a decision." William nodded, indicating that she should sit down. Emily remained standing. "I've been thinking a lot these days," Emily began, "about who I am, about my values, about the future I want for myself." William listened in silence, his expression unreadable. "What Grant Enterprises does is illegal and morally wrong," Emily continued. "I can't be part of that, regardless of who my biological father is." William visibly tensed at these words. "Emily, I understand you're angry with me, but—" "I'm not finished," she interrupted him. "I've decided that I'm going to report Grant Enterprises' illegal activities to the authorities." William's face paled. "Emily, you can't do that. You'll destroy everything I've worked for. You'll destroy your own future." Emily shook her head. "No, William, I'll be building my future, one based on honesty and integrity, not on lies and corruption." She moved closer to him, looking him directly in the eyes. "But I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing, to make amends for your mistakes. Help me clean up this company, make it legitimate. We can use our resources to do good, to make a real difference in the world." William looked at her, surprised by her proposal. "You're giving me a chance after everything I've done?" Emily nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance, even you, but it's up to you to take it." William sank into his chair, the weight of the decision visible on his face. "And if I refuse, if I decide to fight against you, then I'll have to do what I believe is right, regardless of the consequences," Emily replied firmly. Silence filled the office as William considered his options. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he spoke. "I never thought the day would come when my own daughter would teach me a lesson in integrity," he said with a bitter laugh. "You're right, Emily. I've been so obsessed with power and success that I lost sight of what really matters." He stood up, extending his hand towards Emily. "I accept your proposal. Let's do this together. Let's clean up. Grant Enterprises, make it a force for good." Emily took his hand, feeling a mixture of relief and determination. "It won't be easy," she warned. "Nothing worth doing ever is," William replied with a tired smile. The following months were a whirlwind of activity. Emily and William worked tirelessly to unravel the complex web of illegal businesses of Grant Enterprises. It was a painful process full of obstacles. Many high-level executives resigned or were fired. There were investigations, fines, and moments when it seemed the entire empire would crumble. But little by little, with determination and vision, they began to rebuild. They implemented strict ethical policies, focused on sustainable and socially responsible projects, and worked to repair the damage they had caused. Emily discovered she had a natural talent for business, but one guided by an unshakable moral compass. Under her leadership, Grant Enterprises began to gain a new reputation, not as a corrupt giant, but as an example of how large companies could be a force for good. William, for his part, found a new mission in life. He used his connections and resources to promote corporate transparency and fight against corruption. Slowly, he began to rebuild not only his company, but also his relationship with Emily. A year after that, confrontation in the office, Emily and William were standing on the stage of a press conference. They had just announced a new Grant Enterprises initiative, a massive scholarship program for low-income youth, designed to give opportunities to those who, like Emily once, dreamed of a better future. As the camera flashes illuminated the stage, Emily looked at William and saw something she had never seen in his eyes before. Genuine pride, not for his business achievements, but for the person she had become that night. As Emily prepared for bed in her new apartment, much larger than the previous one, but still modest for someone in her position, she received a text message from William. "Emily, today more than ever, I realize how much I missed by not being in your life all these years, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to know you now, to be part of your life. You are extraordinary, and not because you're my daughter, but because of who you've chosen to be. I'm proud of you." Emily smiled, feeling a mixture of emotions. Her life had come full circle in the past year. She had faced lies, corruption, and betrayal, but she had also discovered her own strength, her unwavering integrity, and a greater purpose. As she lay down, Emily reflected on the path she had traveled, from waitress to executive, from the daughter of a single mother to the heiress of a business empire. But more importantly, from an insecure young woman to a woman who knew exactly who she was and what she stood for. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges and possibilities, but Emily knew that no matter what came, she would face each day with the same determination and values that had guided her so far. With a smile on her lips, Emily closed her eyes, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. 2 years had passed since the transformation of Grant Enterprises. The company, under the joint leadership of Emily and William, had become an example of business ethics and social responsibility. The scholarship programs were changing lives, and sustainable development initiatives were having a real impact on communities across the country. Emily, now 28 years old, had established herself as a respected figure in the business world. Her story of integrity and transformation was cited in business schools and leadership conferences. However, despite her success, Emily never forgot her humble roots or the values her mother had instilled in her. One sunny spring morning, Emily was in her office reviewing the details of a new clean energy project when her assistant rushed in. "Miss Thompson, you have an urgent call." "It's from the police." Emily's heart skipped a beat. Despite the years that had passed, she always feared that some skeleton from Grant Enterprises' past would come out of the closet. With slightly trembling hands, she picked up the phone. "Emily Thompson, this is Detective Martinez. We need you to come to the police station immediately. It's about your ex-husband, Daniel Roberts." Emily felt the world stop. Daniel, her ex-husband, was a part of her past. She had tried to forget they had married young, shortly after she started working at the restaurant. The marriage had been brief and tumultuous, ending shortly before Emily met William. "What happened?" Emily managed to ask. "We prefer to discuss it in person, Ms. Thompson. Please come as soon as possible." Stunned, Emily hung up the phone and quickly headed to William's office. "I have to go," she said, interrupting a meeting. "It's an emergency." William, noticing the paleness on her face, nodded understandingly. "Go, I'll take care of things here." At the police station, Emily was greeted by Detective Martinez, a middle-aged man with tired but kind eyes. "Miss Thompson, I'm sorry to have to inform you of this, but your ex-husband, Daniel Roberts, has been arrested for fraud and extortion." Emily sank into the chair, stunned. "I don't understand. I haven't heard from Daniel in years." The detective nodded sympathetically. "According to our investigation, Mr. Roberts has been trying to extort several people using information about you and Grant Enterprises." Emily felt short of breath. "What kind of information?" "He claims to have evidence of the company's past illegal activities, as well as details about your relationship with William Grant." Emily's mind was spinning. How had Daniel obtained that information? And why now, after so many years? "We need your cooperation for the investigation," the detective continued. "Any information you can provide about your relationship with Mr. Roberts and your knowledge of Grant Enterprises' activities will be crucial." Emily nodded slowly, aware that this new turn could undo all the hard work of the past few years. "I'll do everything I can to help, Detective." In the days that followed, Emily found herself reliving a past she thought she had left behind. She had to testify about her marriage to Daniel, her time working at the restaurant, and the early days at Grant Enterprises. Each question was like opening old wounds. William, upon learning of the situation, was concerned but supportive. "We'll face this together, Emily," he assured her. "We've worked too hard to let the past destroy us now." As the investigation progressed, Emily realized she needed to confront Daniel directly with the authorities' permission. She arranged a visit to the jail where he was being held. The day of the visit, Emily found herself face to face with the man she had once loved. Daniel looked older and more worn out than she remembered, but his eyes still shone with that spark of cunning that had once captivated her. "Emily," he said with a crooked smile, "how nice to see you. You've come a long way since our days in that little apartment." Emily remained firm. "Why did you do it, Daniel? Why now?" Daniel shrugged. "Why do you think? For money, of course. When I found out who your daddy really was, I thought I deserved my piece of the pie." "That was years ago," Emily replied, struggling to keep calm. "We've changed. The company has changed." "Oh, come on, Emily," Daniel scoffed. "Nobody really changes. They just get better at hiding who they really are." Daniel's words hit her hard. Was he right? Had they really changed? Or were they just hiding their past better? "You're wrong," Emily finally said, finding strength in her conviction. "People can change. I have changed. And I'm not going to let you destroy everything we've worked for." She left the visiting room feeling shaken but determined. She knew the coming days would be crucial. The investigation threatened to expose not only Grant Enterprises' murky past, but also the truth about her relationship with William. That night, Emily called an emergency meeting with William and the executive team of Grant Enterprises. "We can't keep hiding the truth," she declared. "It's time for us to be completely transparent, regardless of the consequences." William looked at her with a mixture of pride and concern. "Are you sure, Emily? This could cost the company a lot, and us personally." Emily nodded firmly. "It's the only way to prove that we've really changed, that we don't just talk about integrity, but we live it." The following days were a whirlwind. Emily and William organized a press conference where they revealed the whole truth: Grant Enterprises' corrupt past, the true relationship between them, and how they had worked to transform the company. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The media exploded with the news, shareholders panicked, and for a moment it seemed that everything they had fought for would crumble. But then something unexpected happened. Grant Enterprises employees began to speak up, telling stories of how the company had changed their lives. Scholarship program beneficiaries shared their experiences. Leaders of communities impacted by the company's sustainable development projects raised their voices in support. Little by little, the narrative began to change. From being a story of scandal and corruption, it became a tale of redemption and transformation. Emily and William's honesty, their willingness to face the consequences of their past actions, resonated with many people. Weeks after the press conference, Emily found herself in her office, looking out the window at the city sprawling below. It had been a turbulent period, but Grant Enterprises had survived. More than that, it had emerged stronger, with a new reputation for transparency and authenticity. A soft knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. It was William. "Emily," he said, entering the office, "I just received news the judge has handed down the sentence in Daniel's case." Emily held her breath. "And?" "Guilty on all charges. He'll go to prison for a long time." Emily felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Despite everything, a part of her still cared for the man she had once loved. William approached, putting a hand on her shoulder. "You've handled all of this with incredible strength and grace, Emily. I'm proud to call you my daughter and my partner." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Thank you, Dad." It was the first time she had called him that, and they both felt the weight of the moment. "What's next now?" William asked. Emily looked towards the horizon, where the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in golden and pink hues. "We move forward," she said with determination. "We keep building. We keep improving. There's so much work to do, so many lives we can positively impact." William nodded, a smile on his lips. "Together." "Together," Emily confirmed. As the day gave way to night, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path hadn't been easy, and she knew there would be more challenges ahead. But she also knew that with integrity, determination, and the support of the right people, she could face anything the future held for her. Grant Enterprises' legacy would no longer be one of corruption and deceit, but of transformation and hope. And Emily was ready to lead the way towards that bright future. 5 years had passed since the media storm that shook Grant Enterprises. Emily, now 33 years old, had become a respected figure in the business world, not only for her success, but for her unwavering commitment to ethics and social responsibility. One autumn morning, Emily was in her office preparing for an important day. Grant Enterprises was about to launch its most ambitious project to date, a global initiative to bring clean energy and technological education to marginalized communities around the world. As she reviewed the final details of the project, Emily couldn't help but reflect on the path that had led her there, from waitress to CEO, from unknown daughter to her father's partner, from an insecure young woman to a visionary leader. Each challenge, each obstacle, had shaped and strengthened her. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. It was William, her father. And now, mentor ready for the big day? He asked with a smile. Emily nodded, returning the smile, as ready as one can be to change the world. William approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. You know, when I started this company, I dreamed of power and wealth. I never imagined that my greatest achievement would be seeing my daughter turn those selfish dreams into a force for good. Emily felt a lump in her throat. Her relationship with William had come a long way, from mutual ignorance to a partnership based on respect and affection. I wouldn't have made it without you, she replied. Your support, your guidance, even your past mistakes have taught me valuable lessons. William nodded, his eyes shining with contained emotion. Let's go, the world is waiting for us. Together they headed to the main auditorium of Grant Enterprises, where hundreds of employees, investors and media representatives were waiting for the announcement of the new project. Emily took the stage, feeling the weight of expectant gazes. She took a deep breath and began her speech. Not long ago, Grant Enterprises was synonymous with greed and corruption. Today, we are here to demonstrate that change is not only possible, but necessary and powerful. As Emily detailed the scope of the new project, she saw how the faces in the audience lit up with enthusiasm and hope. She spoke of solar energy for remote villages, of educational programs that would train young people in emerging technologies, of microcredits for local entrepreneurs. This is not just a Grant Enterprises project, Emily concluded. It's a call to action for all companies. We can and must be a force for good in the world. True success is not measured in profits, but in the positive impact we leave on the lives of others. The applause that followed was deafening. Emily saw tears in the eyes of some veteran employees, those who had been with the company throughout its transformation. William, standing in the front row, was applauding with paternal pride. As she stepped off the stage, Emily was approached by a young reporter. Miss Thompson, the reporter began, your personal story and the transformation of Grant Enterprises have inspired many. What would you say to those who believe the corporate world is beyond redemption? Emily smiled, carefully considering her response. I would say that change begins with a decision to do the right thing, even when it's difficult. It's not about being perfect, it's about constantly striving to be better. Every company, every leader, has the power to choose the impact they want to have on the world. Emily's words resonated beyond the press room. In the days and weeks that followed, Grant Enterprises became the center of a global movement towards greater corporate responsibility. Other companies began to follow their example, launching their own social impact initiatives. However, with success came new challenges. Some competitors, fearful of being left behind, resorted to dirty tactics to discredit Grant. Enterprises' rumors and accusations began to circulate. Questioning the sincerity of the company's transformation, Emily found herself once again in the eye of the media hurricane. But this time, instead of hiding or panicking, she faced the accusations head-on. She organized a series of open forums, inviting critics and skeptics to see firsthand the work they were doing. In one of these forums, Emily found herself face-to-face with a former Grant Enterprises employee, someone who had been fired during the company's ethical cleansing years ago. How can we trust that you've really changed? the man asked, his voice laden with bitterness. Isn't all of this just an elaborate public relations strategy? Emily looked him directly in the eyes. I understand your skepticism. I doubted many times on this path myself. But I invite you to look beyond the words and observe our actions. Visit the communities we've impacted. Talk to the young people who have received our scholarships. Change is a process, not an event. We are committed to continuing to improve every day. Emily's honesty and vulnerability struck a chord with many. Little by little, even the harshest critics began to recognize the authenticity of Grant Enterprises' transformation. As the global clean energy and education project began to bear fruit, Emily found herself traveling the world, visiting the benefited communities. In a small African village, as she watched children studying under lights powered by solar panels that her company had installed, Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. One night, sitting by a campfire with the village leaders, one of the elders asked her, "Why do you do all this? You could be living a life of luxury without worries." Emily smiled, looking at the stars. "Because I believe we all have a responsibility to leave this world a little better than we found it. And because I've learned that true wealth isn't in what we accumulate, but in the positive impact we have on the lives of others." Back in the city, Emily faced a new challenge. William, now in his 60s, had decided to retire, completely from the company. "It's your time, Emily," he told her one afternoon in his office. "You've proven to be not only a capable leader, but a visionary. Grant Enterprises is yours to take to the next level." Emily felt a mixture of excitement and nostalgia. "Are you sure? There's still so much I can learn from you." William smiled, his eyes shining with paternal pride. "You've taught me more in these years than I've taught you. It's time for me to take a step back and watch you shine." The transition was smooth, a testament to the respect and trust Emily had earned at all levels of the company. On her first day as the sole CEO of Grant Enterprises, Emily gathered all the staff. "We've come a long way together," she began. "We've faced scandals, overcome obstacles, and redefined what it means to be a successful company. But our journey is far from over. Today I ask you to dream even bigger. How can we take our impact to the next level? How can we inspire more companies to join our mission?" Ideas flowed from mentoring programs for other companies that wanted to follow their example, to collaborations with governments to implement large-scale sustainable development policies. As Emily listened to her team's passionate proposals, she felt a wave of gratitude and determination. She had found her purpose, her legacy. That night, back in her apartment, Emily paused in front of a framed photograph. In it, a young waitress smiled shyly at the camera. It was her, in her early days at the restaurant. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" she murmured, gently touching the glass. Her phone vibrated with a notification. It was a message from William. "Just saw the news. Your new business mentoring program is causing a sensation. I'm proud of you, daughter. Keep changing the world." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She looked out the window at the city sprawling below her, the lights shining like earthly stars. Each light represented a life, a story, an opportunity to make a difference. "The journey continues," she told herself. And with that determination, Emily prepared for another day of challenges, opportunities, and the constant pursuit of making the world a better place. As dawn began to peek over the horizon, Emily felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. Her life had taken unexpected turns, faced unimaginable challenges, but each step had led her to this moment. Grant Enterprises was no longer just a company. It was a movement, a beacon of hope in a business world often criticized for its lack of ethics, and Emily was at the forefront of that change, leading not with words, but with actions. The future was bright, full of possibilities, and Emily was ready to face it, one day at a time, one decision at a time, always true to her values and the vision of a better world.